Hey guys, how are you? Suzette Speaks here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I wanted to come on and do a quick video because I've been reading so much news about what's going on the US Mexico border, specifically what's going on right now in Ciudad Acuña on the Mexican side and Del Rio, Texas on the American side. Namely, that there have been thousands of not only Haitian migrants, but majority Haitian migrants collecting at this border crossing, and that the US government have been deporting Haitians back to the island nation. Now, I am going to jump in a little bit in terms of my opinion of the situation, and I'm going to be doing more research and probably a second or third video on the situation there on the border as this progresses. But if you are new here at the channel, thank you so much for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, please do. I want to welcome you and hit that subscribe and that like and even that share button if this is something that interests you. So if you're not paying attention to what's going on the border, I just wanted to do this video as a quick update and reminder so that you could start to do your own research and be aware that there is literally a humanitarian crisis happening at the U.S. border in Del Rio, Texas. Now, since the earthquake that hit Haiti in 2010, a lot of Haitians have left the island and were migrants in countries in South America as well as Central America. A lot of people don't know that there are Haitians that have been living for years in places like Brazil, places like Chile, places like Guatemala. And in recent weeks, there has been a push by, some would say, smugglers and others to encourage a movement now towards the US border. And now we've seen a large number, a population of about 14,000 or more now gathered in this one particular border town and seeking asylum. Now, what really prompted this video today is to hear that the Biden administration, through the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, has already deported several thousand people who have been quickly processed, not even allowed to apply for asylum under some new rules that came into effect under the Trump administration. As I was reading some articles today by Reuters, Miami Herald, great reporter from down here named Jackie Charles, kind of documenting who is in these camps, these migrant camps on the border. Apparently, they are separating people into groups. You don't only have Haitians, you have some Venezuelans as well mixed in, Cuban migrants mixed in. Several other countries are also there seeking asylum. But what is not happening is that they're not being given a chance to apply and get a hearing before being deported. So that is very concerning because we've had a lot of other countries with newly arrived immigrants as of late. I'm thinking of, the immigrants that have come from Afghanistan and these places where we've had, horrible turmoil, new governments and other extreme changes. And we have, as a country in the United States, said, okay, yes, we will allow, even if it's for, provisional resettlement or maybe even permanent resettlement, allow you to come and be welcome here. But for some reason, our Haitian brothers and sisters are not necessarily granted that same type of welcome. And it has been said, I think, from far before even Barack Obama in the Clinton administration and before, there were distinctions that were being made from other, migrant groups saying that Haiti was economic in terms of why migrants moved as opposed to political, in terms of their fear of being prosecuted and their fear of, political retribution. We made a distinction back under the Clinton administration that, political migrants or people who were in danger of, political backlash in their home country could apply and seek asylum. But economic migrants, as the distinction was being made by the U.S. government, were not afforded the same promises of open arms. And so here we are again. We had a crisis, to me, a political crisis in Haiti, where their president was recently assassinated. It was big international news. We've had the second major earthquake in 10 years, again, devastating the local economy, devastating the local government. and making, life for everyday Haitians, hard it is, to put it lightly. They cannot sustain a daily living and have that, just the normal things that we expect out of, life, when you don't have, a governmental structure or economic structures, you know, that have fully recovered from two major crises. Again, that of the assassination of your president, as well as the earthquake that devastated so much of the country. So we have folks who are coming for a myriad of reasons, but those being the two main ones, and we're not giving them a hearing. We're not giving them a hearing. Now, I understand you say the DHS, and I can open my Reuters article and kind of give the statement that the Department of Homeland Security has been making, and the border is not open, and they don't want people to come. But for some migrants, it seems like the rules might be a little bit different, depending on the country that they're coming from. Hi, how are you? I see you, SSS. No disrespect, but we as African Americans should be against all immigration. Thank you for your opinion. And so you're thinking immigrants compete with African Americans for jobs? I think that is something that has been used. I don't know if it's correct, but has been used to pit the African American community against the migrant communities from other nations. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about your opinion. I'm not sure. But yeah, they're not giving any of them a hearing. No, not necessarily, because if you reach the United States and you're from Cuba, there's a different set of rules that apply to you. You will be given asylum, because Cubans are considered political asylum seekers because of the communist government and because of the United States history with Cuba, and us being, anti-communist in terms of our, political worldview. And we believe or we hold as a country that communism is a form of tyranny, and that the people in Cuba deserve freedom. So anybody who comes here reaches our shores. Remember this wet foot, dry foot policy that was initiated, I think it was under Clinton, if I'm not mistaken. They have, thank you, yes. I think, I'm thinking you're saying yes to what I had previously said in terms of some of the propaganda around wanting not to have immigrants, particularly immigrants of color, introduced into our society, and why in some places it is always given, which I say, the economic argument is being made, so that it seems as if immigrants will be a burden rather than adding to the tapestry of the United States of America, which I believe. I know, for example, where I live in Florida, the immigrant population, if we didn't have immigrant populations, a lot of different industries would literally go downhill, and have been actually during COVID, with people not being able to move back and forth. Usually we have seasonal migrants throughout anywhere there's agriculture in the United States. Seasonal migrants are very common from Latin America and the Caribbean. There are a lot of people that work in the hospitality industry, etc. There are hotels that have not been able to operate at full capacity, or even as they reopen, they don't have people that necessarily want to work in that industry. So I think there's a lot of contributions that immigrants make, not just only on those type of jobs, but yes, please, SSS, please let me know your thoughts. But I really want to dig into this a little bit more. But I want, more importantly, this episode is so that you pay attention. There are as many as 14,000 people that are sitting under a bridge in Del Rio, Texas. Not only are we facing, a COVID crisis, even because of this spread, and of course of the unsanitary conditions that are there at the border, there's all kinds of other, economic and political factors that a lot of folks are facing, even though, like I said, even the Trump administration has cut back a lot of provisions that used to allow hearings. Now, the Biden administration is allowing particularly unaccompanied children to stay, unaccompanied children do have special provisions. Some families, depending on their individual case and situation. But it's alarming to me. It is alarming to me. I know we are in a pandemic, so there are those who are going to argue that, this is what is best for our country. And I would love to hear what you have to say. But there are also other sides of the coin where if we were in a humanitarian crisis, how would we want a neighboring country to treat us and our citizens? So there are, again, a lot of people, particularly here where I'm from, who supported the Biden administration, who are of Haitian descent. President Biden, during his campaign, came down to an enclave, a neighborhood here in Miami called Little Haiti. He spoke and he talked about his support for the Haitian people. So I think this might be seen as a slap in the face for many who supported him and may want him to consider a different approach. I'm not saying there are all right and wrong ways of looking at this, and that there are other aspects for which he must be thinking about and his administration must be thinking about. But it does seem very difficult to watch and to see what is happening to so many people who are just seeking a better life. And I'm not sure if that will change in any time soon. Right now, the planes are already on their way to Haiti. And can you imagine having survived an earthquake or two, made your way, found your way into Central America? They said there are also a large group of Haitians that are living in Guatemala. Again, they have also been, living in places like Brazil and Chile, and eventually having made their way up through Mexico. But what do you think? I'd love to hear your opinion, and I'm going to go into this in a little bit more of a deep dive. But just reading so much of the news about it this weekend and seeing some of the video of young people and folks literally with the clothes on their back in very, very tenuous and squalid conditions, it does beg the question as where, does the US stand in terms of, what its role is and with which countries? Because some may argue that for other countries, and again, I'm thinking about Afghani migrants who were shown, some of which have reached the US, home mainland and have been welcomed with open arms. Some people will have, some questions about why, Haitians are not afforded at least a hearing or at least the opportunity to apply for asylum and make the case for asylum. It is disturbing. It is very disturbing, and I want to know what you guys think. I'm going to come back and do a little bit more on this topic as things progress, and we'll watch what happens and how the DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas, addresses this a little bit more. They've been speaking a lot through, various spokespersons from the DHS. I haven't heard anything directly from the Biden administration or Joe Biden himself so far. But again, be aware. Just be aware that this is happening because it has other impacts that trickle into, other parts of our diplomacy, credibility, and an opportunity to influence what happens again in the southern United States and the region that kind of outstretches through the Caribbean and through Central America and our neighbors. There are people that are definitely in need of a lot of help here and now. So whether we choose to, as a administration, as a government, give them that help, I really think it should reflect the will of the people. And I would love to know where you guys stand on this. Do you think we're doing the right thing by deporting Haitians without any type of hearing and sending them back to an island nation that's already reeling from both natural disaster and, political unrest? Is that what's in the best interest of the United States, in your opinion? Or can this be handled a different way? Love to hear your thoughts. I'm going to jump back on with a continuation of this conversation. So please let me know your thoughts. Leave a comment, like, and share. And I hope to see you guys back real soon. I'll talk to you soon. Thank you for